Welcome to Turn Extension, a supplemental podcast for the Advanced Maneuvers YouTube channel.
Everybody, welcome to another episode of Turn Extension. My name is Tony, or Polar Bear Cub on the forums.
Hey everybody, it's Kevin.
Hey everybody, it's Devin, Cutthroat Cure on the forums.
This is Gaston.
Alright guys, so we just passed the final week of CID for Crucible Guard, so not many changes there, but Devin, you had a pretty good topic.
Yeah, so this week I decided that it seems like every week we do a lot of conversation about the CID, or we talk about the different themes that are coming out, and I figured that, you know, one of the things that with everybody who listens to us, they're probably curious about the lists that we're currently playing or reasons why we're playing them. So I figured that for tonight's discussion, we could go over, you know, maybe one of the lists that we're currently playing, why we enjoy it, and maybe why we selected the models inside of it. So I figured that would be kind of something fun and interesting, and especially if the viewers, anybody listening, wants to, you know, comment in the, you know, say stuff in the comments below and tell us, you know, what you might change, your thoughts on the list, or if you have any questions, maybe it's something we can cover again.
So, I guess you want to start off then with your list?
Actually, I figured since we just finished up Crucible Guard, and since you've been playing a little bit more than you usually do, we would hear about the list that you've been playing.
Yeah, no problem. So, I guess starting off, so yeah, I've been playing a lot more Crucible Guard. Yeah, I played a lot more games than I have last year. Well, getting close to it. And one of the casters that really made me excited about Crucible Guard was actually mixed between, I like Locke a lot, but I really like Silvestre. He is definitely one of my favorite well-rounded casters, and I liked him because just the abilities he can churn out. I can purify if I need to, have the ability to do Stage Abyss, his transmutability to either give his own units, one of his own units +2 strength, +2 defense and Pathfinder, or he can cast it on an enemy to give them -2 defense, -2 strength, and lose Pathfinder, was something that really intrigued me. So that's kind of the basis of what I want to do with that list, and I threw in 2 Tauros because I think Tauros is an absolutely amazing jack. They're dirt cheap and they have countercharge and they hit like a tank.
Is that one of the jacks that they recently showed in the picture release?
Yep, yeah, it's the one that has a sword and a buckler. So they showed all 3 of the heavy jacks, and that was one of the ones that they showed. So it has a sword and a buckler. It's a beat stick. It's only 13 points. It's speed 5, defense 11, armor 18, but he has a shield, so he goes up to armor 20. And then other than that, he has a 2-inch reach on his weapon. It's a power 18 melee. So he's a lot of fun to play. So I've got 2 of those. I've got a Liberator, which is their warjack that can arc and melee. The downside of that is every time you arc with it, you have to roll a d6, and a 3-up, you lose a arc node box because it's burning itself out. And then I have 2 of their medium.
Ouch.
Yeah, it's an interesting toss-up because like I don't like that it's a faulty, but it's cool that you have the ability to run the jack up into melee and then arc your spells through it still.
How many boxes for arc nodes does he have? Do you know offhand?
Only 2.
I don't think it's that big a deal with Silvestre, though.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not like with Lucas, who's just like slamming arcs through it.
Exactly, yeah. So Lucas is definitely a lot more terrifying. I liked it with Silvestre for being able to either cast out a transmute far away, or potentially having to cast out a Stygian Abyss. Other than that, that's really the only time I would use that. But I do think it makes it interesting. You are right, Gaston. With Lucas, it's a lot more deadly. Same with Locke, because having to cast out those jackhammers from far away, or her bomb spell, that's a bigger risk where you're going to burn that arc node. You have a lot more chances to burn that arc node out. And then really with the rest of the list, I really like the Crucible Guard Infantry, the standard unit, because they can either do a magical weapon that on a crit removes upkeeps. They can do a fire shot that on crit catches the model on fire, or a corrosion shot that on a crit gives the model corrosion. So that's kind of the basis of, and then also the Dragon Breath rockets, because those things are absolutely amazing. And I played that list against a Butcher 3 list. And oh, sorry, and the final thing I have in it is a Rayless Interceptor, because those battle engines are just amazing for 16 points. But no,
I'm really curious your thoughts on that outside of McKay.
So I liked it because the Rayless Interceptor, it does a lot where it clears out infantry. And then the fact that it can reposition back 3 inches is absolutely amazing. Silvestre does a lot with it because he can give them +2 speed. He has one ability where he gives all constructs within 5 inches +2 speed. So that also on that Rayless Interceptor goes up to a speed 8, which is really fast for a battle engine. And that's kind of what I wanted to test out to see if it was almost too powerful.
And what did you find out?
So my opponent who I played against, he was it was a lot for him to deal with. He was able to kill the Rayless Interceptor. Granted, he rolled 18 damage on 1 hit. He rolled like 4 6s or something like that. So it was pretty painful to watch. But still, it was I think it served its purpose. I kind of shit the bed a little bit whenever I deployed it because I had stuff that was in front of it, so I didn't get to move it as far as I needed it to. But it definitely threatened the board a lot, and it did what I wanted it to do between its normal shot because of the scatter template, the scather template that went out. It stopped charge ranges that would have killed my last Toro. So I really liked it. It did exactly what it needed to do for me.
Do you think that the debuffs in the faction are enough to make up for the fact that it can't boost naturally on its own?
I think so, yes. Because what I'll say is, so this is a good example, is with the Dragon Breath rockets, right? Just alone. And with Transmute. Well, actually not Transmute, because Transmute doesn't increase the damage or decrease the damage. But on the Butcher, just on the Butcher alone, or even actually any of the models I was hitting them with Dragon Breath rockets. And if they would scatter over, other models would get the -2 defense. And then the Rayless Interceptor will go up and just, I mean, effectively you're adding +2 to its damage, which is really powerful. I mean, some of his shots he has a power 15, I believe, gun. So it goes up to a power 17 against undead and normal models.
So do you think that you mentioned with the deviation that you get it where you get multiple models, is that going to be a common occurrence? Is it's rat high enough that it's going to be able to not be deviating all the time, or do you actually want it to deviate all the time in hopes of getting, 2 or 3 or 4 models clipped by it?
So I think it's going to be a hit or miss with them. Obviously, like at the end of the game, I needed to hit Butcher, and I needed them to land on target, so they were able to stand still and shoot. And I had also hit Butcher with the Stygian Abyss right beforehand and was able to blind him. So Butcher was in melee. He was a defense 18. After I Stygian Abyssed him, he went down to a 14. And then with Silvestre, I had popped my feet, so I was rolling 3 dice to hit, and I dropped whatever dice I wanted. So it allowed me to actually hit models. But I think I like the idea of it rolling and staying where it's at, but it's an AoE 4, so it's a range 14 AoE 4. That's a big AoE, and all monsters underneath it suffer -2 armor and lose tough. Sorry, living and undead models suffer -2 armor and lose tough.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, is it a scenario of when you take those Dragon's Breath rockets, are they going to come with some sort of defense debuff tax, either from a caster or ice cage from other units, or is it a situation where you need to have some way of reducing debuff in order to get that debuff to defense in order to get the debuff to armor in the army to function, or is it more akin to some of the mortar teams and stuff like that have where it's just a flat POW 10, all of a sudden my brain's not working, high explosive, where it's just I'm going to toss it and wherever it lands, cool. I'm just wondering, is the Dragon's Breath built with this kind of cognitive defense buff requirement in order to be a truly functioning piece?
I don't think so, because if you think of it, right, wherever it lands at, it goes to a power 7, but models underneath it are already at a -2 armor if they're living, so it's effectively a power 9, which in essence is kind of a high explosive shot either way. They're Rat
'Cause
5 normally, so I think a lot of the army does rely on debuff stacking just in general between the defense debuffs with the ice cage and all that stuff. So I think because they go so well hand in hand, I mean, you can't say that they don't need it. But I think it is going to be a shot where I'm going to say, hey, I'm going to throw it into this unit. If it doesn't hit, whatever, it's going to scatter somewhere, and I'm going to at least get models that are -2 armor, so the rest of my crap's going to screw it up.
Yeah,
Have you seen how they do into Northkin, who are all immune to cold and therefore immune to your defense debuffs?
I have not yet. But that's why I have a Vulcan. If I'm worried about that, I can always bring a Vulcan where I just shoot out a thing where, hey, now all of a sudden you no longer have your immune to cold, right?
Because I mean, it's one of those situations where I look at Crucible Guard and all of the stacking and I don't want to say dependencies, but it's very obvious that Crucible Guard is built with the concept of these different debuffs to defense and armor, and that's how the army really gets to its true heavyweight power. But it becomes a situation where, like, it seems like the best way to be good against Crucible Guard is to know where their debuffing comes from and to look at your army and go, I'm a defense army, so I need to eliminate the defense reduction pieces, because once I remove that side, I'm technically removing both sides of the equation, because if they can't hit me, then they're not going to be able to stack the armor against me.
Isn't that true with any army in Warmachine or Hordes, where basically knowing what the key parts of the other person's army is like super important?
Oh, I couldn't agree more, but it's a situation where with Crucible Guard, it's almost like they lean on debuffing so much more than, it's like, oh, well, you've got Gorman, so I need to take care of Gorman in order to reduce your debuff, or, oh, you've got the... you've got somebody over here, you've got Denny Zero to stack a Parasite or something like that. I need to remove that. Whereas this is, you've got, with Crucible Guard, it's like, here's 5 or 6 or 7 things, because I'm assuming a Crucible Guard player isn't going to just stack put all their hopes and wishes on armor debuff on one model and hope and pray. They're going to be doing it on like 3 models, and you're going to have to dismantle all 3 of them to really reduce their power.
That's true, because a standard army, I feel like if you're bringing 1 Dragon Breath, you really need to bring 2. Have 1 on either side of the table, so you're shooting out 2 potential AoEs every single turn. That's going to -2 to armor to living.
So I think against Crucible Guard, it's really going to be identifying what the Crucible Guard player is going to use to... I really think it's removing the defense in most cases. Because if you have low defense, even removing their defense, they're still going to hit you and they're going to do the armor debuff. If you have high defense, removing the defense means they're not going to get either on you, or they're going to have a really hard time getting the armor debuff on you if they don't have the defense debuff.
I think it's going to be hard to do that, though. I mean, well, reliable sources of your armor debuff, defense debuff is going to be your casters, which, the only way to get rid of casters is to kill it, or... off the top of my head, the only other thing I can think of is a suppressor that does Ice Cage.
Yeah.
So, like for Silvestre...
Combat Alchemists.
Huh? You're right. Sorry.
Combat Alchemists.
Combat Alchemists as well. I actually completely forgot about them. I've been really terrible about playing Combat Alchemists.
Have you put
I think you should continue to be terrible with them for all of our sakes.
Are they good?
Hold on. I'm looking them up right now.
Yeah, they're pretty aggravating.
Why did it get so quiet?
Sorry.
Because he doesn't actually know the rules.
I don't know the rules. Hold on.
I mean, to be fair, it's in CID. Nobody knows the rules because they're not done yet.
I mean, technically,
Your
I
face.
feel like they're out of it at this point.
Hey, they still got tweaks to do.
Huh? Not for, I mean, nothing else is going to be shown, I guess, at this point.
I mean, think about it from the perspective, there's no book anymore. There's no cards anymore. They can change the rules, all the way up to the last minute if they really want to.
That's true, yeah. All right, yeah, so, they also do Ice Cage as well. So a lot of their defense stuff revolves around either what their caster can do or Ice Cage.
Which is an AoE 3.
Which is an AoE 3. It's a range 6, though.
It's an AoE 3.
That's true. It's an AoE 3, yes.
That is nasty.
Wait, it's range 6 AoE. So are we dealing with CG versions of Zealots where they're just going to run up and toss and clip everybody and who cares?
Well, if you get hit by 3 AoEs, then you're stationary too.
Are they immune to their own stationary?
Yep. No,
Oh, wow.
they're not. Because it's just only models with immunity cold are ignoring it, and they are just immune to corrosion and fire.
Don't they have breather masks?
Yes, but Ice Cage does not say your mask will not mess with it. Just alchemical mask just as small as not suffer gas effects. Oh, and then they can also ignore
I guess they'll
cloud
just
effects.
have to not hit each other.
Yeah, so they can't hit each other. That's their thing then.
So with your Silvestre list, is defense become an issue with you yet with the list you played? Like, are you even looking at defense, or are you expecting your? I recognize his name Silvestre, but I'm going to call him Silvestre.
It's okay.
Silvestre.
Gaston keeps
Call
calling
him
him
Sinestra.
Silvestre.
Sinestro. What are you putting that list into? Like, is it your army list? Is it a hordes list, or what's your perfect matchup?
So this one was honestly it was a mixed arms list because I have the Crucible Guard infantry that can go in and they can combine range, so they could shoot. They can start taking out big heavy items, big heavy models. They can't handle a lot of that list. In particular, cannot handle a lot of constructs. I don't have any ability to put out rust. So that is a negative. So
Could you put Gorman in?
I could change the list to potentially put Gordon in. Gorman, that's not like a terrible idea to at least have some type of rust.
What about Hutchchuck?
Hutch, I actually honestly, I really don't even know what that model does. I don't even own that model.
It's a
Ambush and
hordes
Gorman.
version of it's a hordes version of Gorman.
Yeah, but I don't have a special Hutchchuck model. I have a special Gorman model with a peg leg and
It's
all.
not about.
You're such
It's
a
not-
hobbyist.
It's not a special model.
He's cool looking, and he's
he's
very
he's
special.
he's basically an Ogren Gorman.
Oh, okay.
How much cooler can you get than that?
I mean, that is pretty cool. But yeah, so I'd either have to put one of those two in, or I'd have to find a way to get the suppressor in. So for the suppressor, I'd have to look at taking out one of my Tauros. So instead of having two Tauros, I could have one, which isn't horrible because the suppressor can move in. He can do his 2 sprays, and then he can also do melee attacks as well. So, which would help out with my defense removing for Ice Cage, and also could help out with the rust ability. So. Let me double check, make sure the Liberator doesn't have anything to put on rust. That was the only thing. I activated the Liberator and I actually never attacked with him once. I just used him as a as an arc node the whole time.
So while we wait for him to jump in, why don't you start telling us a little bit about your lists recently, Herman, Gaston?
I'm going to pass to Kevin. I'm gluing my fingers together. I need a moment.
I mean, ideally, I haven't really been playing much, but a little while ago, I ended up pulling out.
That isn't ideal.
I've been I borrowed Pokey's Kador, and I pulled out good old Butcher 3. So Butcher is the caster that drew me to having interest in Kador. Arguably, every time I look at a faction, the very first thing I look through the caster list is who is the Butcher of this faction. So in Trolls, it was Madrak. You've got Butcher. I've been looking at Chromac 2 and Circle. Not that I'm planning on playing that anytime soon.
Barnabas.
Barnabas. I have actually looked at Barnabas. Big old blob. But I ended up playing, I have a Butcher, Jaws of the Wolf Butcher 3 list that I commonly pull out, and it's basically got Butcher, his War Dog, his War Arguses, and a War Dog. Ruin because it's Ruin with Butcher, duh. 2 Juggernauts, and then I take 2 Forge Seers in the theme, Jaws of the Wolf, and I put one gets Behemoth, the other one gets Destroyer. I've been doing this lately mostly because I have concerns over a meta shifting to needing magic, and I want to make sure that the list has some magic presence to it, and the equivalent of 3 boost hit bombards can really play. So things like worrying about cricks legitimately is the main driver behind it, but other factions can pull off Incorporeal as well. I get a Widowmaker Markman for a solo because I've started slowly shifting to most of my list having some sort of range or support element solo who can sit on a flag and still contribute to the force. So the Widowmaker Marksman's great for this because he can sit on a flag and do 3 points of damage anywhere. The added benefit of him being stealth is if he's sitting on a defensive flag, he gets to sit there and not worry about getting shot while still contributing. And then I take 2 Kayazi Eliminators because those girls are amazing. I love the fact that Duelist cranks them up to 17 when they're engaged, and anybody trying to shoot them has to deal with stealth or the fact that they're engaged. And if you try and engage them, they have Acrobat and Parry because screw you, you can't engage me.
I'm so confused. I thought you were playing Convergence now.
Yeah,
No.
aren't you playing Convergence?
Not even close to true. But this past time around, I put in Yuri the Axe as a solo, as one of my free solos from the list, instead of one of the Forge Seers. And he's a weird one for me. I mean, he's got Stealth and AD and Pathfinder and all that, and he's got Tree Walker, which, if the opportunity presents itself, somebody goes trying to hide behind the woods because they've gotten used to in Mark III, not many things can see through the woods, that Yuri can just go charging through, and Weapon Master at Power 13 and Thresher is pretty legit. His other one is which is cost with, but he was a weird one because I threw him out there and he's 14-14 with tough and 8 boxes. He's a solo with 8 boxes, which is really weird. But I have to play with him a little more. He's super expensive, not for free.
Hey,
so I would only take him when he's free.
Kevin, can you say one more time who the model was?
Yuri the Axe.
All right, perfect. Thank you. It broke up a little bit back there.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's Yuri the Axe. Is the big guy with a fur cloak on his head and a big old axe.
Don't you mean the axe with the? It's the axe with the fur pelt on it, right?
I thought the big guy wearing a fur cloak was the Great Bears with the axe.
Those guys have axes too.
Or wasn't it Fenris who was the guy with the big cloak and axes?
No, that's Yuri the Axe.
You're thinking of Butcher.
Oh, no, it was the guy who guards Trisha had the big cloak and the axes.
That's true. Ruin does have a big cloak and an axe.
He does have a fur cloak.
What about Butcher? He has a big cloak and an axe, right?
But Ruin doesn't have an axe. And though Butcher does have an axe, he doesn't really have a fur cloak.
I feel like he definitely has a fur cloak.
I feel like we haven't quite gone to the depths of fur cloaks and axes in this faction.
Doesn't Sorsha have a fur cloak
there
and
may
an
be a
axe?
thing. It's fur trimmed, and it's not an axe. It's a pike.
That's what she said.
I like the list because it's got, it's obviously got 5 heavies in it, 6 if you're counting Butcher as a heavy, which he really is. You've got the Eliminators for killing support, as well as the Marksman and Yuri. But I'm starting to wonder, so I've played the list 2 times now, and recently 2 times, but every time I put this list down, I'm starting to come to the conclusion that I think these theme forces where it's like this is the insert factions beast or jack theme force, that you can't get away without putting some form of max unit in the list. If just nothing for than a bubble wrap to absorb charges so that the charges aren't coming against your jacks unhindered.
I don't think you're crazy, but I think that will vary highly by faction. Like a good analogy would be Creator's Might and Protectorate with Idrian Skirmishers.
Mm-hmm.
Or Trolls Power of Dunya who don't have a real unit to screen with.
I mean, can you take a minion unit? Like
Possibly.
Nis or
I
something,
mean,
or?
Well, yes,
guess you
he
could.
can.
Because I've been looking at taking out a Juggernaut and I don't know, Yuri put the free point on a Forge Seer and potentially doing a unit of Kayazi, just because they'll be stealth and speed bumps.
I imagine it'll also help out with some scenario play.
Yeah, because I only have 2 units, and the 2 units are only 2 chicks, so they die easily. But other option I was thinking about, and I just don't know. I haven't seen them really in play lately in Mark III, is Nis Hunters.
I haven't actually seen them at all lately.
I
I
use
know
them pretty regularly.
CJ Hughes just had some that he posted that he's picking up tomorrow that I had converted a long time ago. But did I actually hear you be sexist, Kevin?
What did I say? Probably, but what did I say?
Your exact words were, they die so quickly because they're just two girls.
They're two. Yes, I was sexist. Okay, but they're two individuals. They die rather easily. The only reason why I was looking at Nis Hunters is because with the with Silence of Death, if I give him the officer, Silence of Death gives them a +2 on damage, and I think that on top of Weapon Masters seems pretty good. I'm still disappointed that they're only 1 inch reach. They're not 2, but
They're also speed 7. So.
They're very fast. I almost worry that they might be too fast and they range out too far away from the jacks.
You don't have to run them max speed.
No, you must run them max speed at all times.
That is actually true. That's pretty factual.
If the stat card says 8, you must run 16. Period. End of story.
I try so hard.
So that's kind of where I'm at right now. But
I've never heard truer words, Kevin. You have to.
I like.
Don't listen to these fools. The key to winning is patience.
I don't know. I think they sound like they know what they're talking about. I like
patience.
The list.
ASAP, as soon as prudent.
I like the list, but I'm starting to think, and I'm almost curious what maybe the listeners might post on it is, do people also have the same experience where you cannot, in the current edition with SR17, you cannot just do, I have my caster. Well, I can't say you can't, because Gatsby 3 does it all the time with Slayers, but it's very difficult to have a list where it's like, here's my caster, 1 or 2 or 3, 4 solos, or support pieces, and then all jacks.
You mean other than Arcadius?
Arcadius is a faction of its own.
And Rask?
Rask, yeah, but it's not Rask's beast. It's Rask and all of his friends' beasts.
And Sturm and Drang?
It's like BYOB, bring your own beast.
Do you know my Helga list has all beasts?
Your Helga list is a bastard.
It wasn't even the list you played against. You played against the bad list.
Maybe it's
wow, and I still got beat. That makes me feel even worse.
Good.
Maybe it's a Hordes thing, like Horde privilege. You get to run beasts all the time.
I think it's an overtake thing.
Okay. So that's my list that I've been playing as of recently, or been tweaking as of recent. Most likely I'll probably have to pick a faction at some point.
Convergence.
I am not playing.
I'm going to laugh so hard.
I'm going to give it to you. Oh, by the way, so the other 2 things I forgot about my list was I also have 2 units of the medium-based assault troopers that on a charge with transmute on them, they get to power plus strength 17, so they can do a decent amount of damage against pretty much anything if they can get in there. And they have Carapace, and they have Ashen Veil, so it allows them to survive a lot better. They're with transmute and Ashen Veil up, they could be up to defense 15, armor 15. Defense 15, armor 15, armor 19 against ranged shots.
They're pretty annoying.
That sounds rude.
I love them. They're very nice. All right, sorry. So, Devin or Gaston, who wants to talk next about your list?
So it's kind of funny that Kevin was talking about Butcher 3 because it was giving me flashbacks to my game of Thyron against him.
Yeah? What was it?
Yeah. I had dropped the Jack theme with Retribution, and I think it pretty much just pulled Butcher's army across the table and then, had a nice snack.
Jesus.
Don't you remember that, Kevin?
Herman has this bad habit when we're playing games that he keeps touching my shit, and I hate it.
God, that's the best part about playing Ret is touching your opponent's shit.
See, it's always like when playing against Herman, he's like, oh, I'm playing so bad, oh, it's so hard, and he's like, oh, hey, I just destroy everything, and I'm going to gloat about it afterwards.
Hey, in my defense this time around, I waited like 18 months.
That is a pretty good amount of time.
Like, this game was a long time ago. It might have been in like 2016.
Jesus.
But, you never forget a good Thyron.
Thyron's just Thyron.
I do enjoy him.
So what about you, Herman? What are you playing?
I have actually been in the dojo with a caster that I think is very underloved, and that is Gareth, the Blade of Retribution.
So you've been dojoing Retribution again? Interesting.
Well, I was dojoing Protector with Sevi Zero, and I really had to stop.
Yeah, I'm happy you had to stop because that was really upsetting me. We almost ended our friendship.
That was so good. Oh, man. I love it.
No,
so,
you shouldn't.
No. So I had to step away from that. That got ugly. So I think, I'm a big fluff person. Yeah. So I have Gareth in the Dawn Guard theme.
I'm sorry. Did you just say that with a straight face?
I did. I'm huge into fluff. That's why I play fluffy factions.
Do you even know the background of Retribution?
Carry on.
Yeah.
Does Minions even have a background?
Yeah, they totally do.
Continue.
Stuff.
Just continue. What were you talking about?
What, the background for Retribution?
No,
they're upset.
your Gareth army.
They want revenge.
Tell us about your Gareth army.
No fucking clue. He's in Dawn Guard theme, as well as he belongs. So I've got Gareth, Silas Wishnailer, 2 Banshees, 3 Mechanics, Sire, and then 2 units of Sentinels with the UA and a Soulless Escort, and then a max unit of Dawn Guard and Victors with the Officer. And that'll net me 3 free points, or 3 free cards, and I'm not really sure what the other... Yeah, there's no real benefits to this list.
I was going to say, that's a dude theme, right? So that's the max amount of free cards you're going to get out of it?
Yeah, I think that hits 60 points. So, which I actually don't often get the 3 free solos when I'm doing Dawn Guard. I usually get 2. But it seemed worthwhile in this case. So the idea behind it is that, Crix is coming around, and they're giving people a lot of problems with their pairing because you have Dark Host, which is 2 units of Banes, and the Bane Riders is the 3rd, backed up by Wraith Engine. Sometimes even 2 Wraith Engines. It's very annoying. But so if you take this list that's meant to counter infantry, then their other pairing is, this Slayer spam or Denny 2 with, all these incorporeal jacks. And that's where I think people are underselling Gareth as kind of a solution to this, because his feat prevents those jacks from spending focus. So you can now completely neuter the Slayers and their ability to do output. You can take counter feat into Denny. Then additionally, the Banshees are actually all magical weapons all the time. So they can take out the Wraith Engines. They can actually go in and kill jacks on Denny's feat turn. And then you're still putting down, 30 infantry in order to counter the infantry swarms. One of the things I really like about the Invictors in particular is that they're POW 12s. So that goes kind of a long ways to countering the armor buff that you can get from the Wraith Engine. They can also be range 14, so they have like a 19-inch threat. You can Mirage them if you want to get them up to 21-inch threats. So they can put down a lot of softening firepower, and then you can have the Banshees come in. They have the knockdown guns, so you can knock down jacks. They can't spend focus to get up, so they're going to be very stout on their back. And then obviously 22 Weapon Masters. So I'm still fiddling with it to try to decide, particularly the Jack loadout, Silas if I want him in there, if maybe I want a pair of Mana Cores instead, depending on how popular like the Raiders theme becomes. Or the Blood Gorgers theme, maybe I want to be able to put down those covering fires. But I think all in all that, it's got a lot of promise, and I think people just really undersell Gareth.
So the magic weapons in the list are just the jacks?
I think pretty much. Gareth himself has it, and Grievous Wounds, which is, neat.
That he has to apply with his blades, though, right? That's not his gun?
Yeah, you don't. But the jacks are melee and ranged magical. So my initial thought was to actually put Mirage on one of them. So, I mean, that's speed 5, 2 inches is 7, charge for 10, and then reach for 12. That's, reasonable.
So in the Dark Host list, are you looking to trade, would it be 1.5 Banshees for a Wraith Engine?
Yeah, I think 1 Banshee will kill a Wraith Engine, realistically. I mean, they hit at POW 20. So, I mean, that should be... Is that straight dice on... No, the Wraith Engine would be armor 18, right? So it's dice plus 2?
Yeah, because I don't think the Wraith Engine benefits from its own thing.
Yeah, so I think it's pretty reasonable to expect a single Banshee to kill a Wraith Engine. I don't think that's out of the realm. So I think the big weakness is Pathfinder, more than anything.
Actually, maybe the Wraith Engine does benefit from its own, because the way that Unhallowed reads is while in this model's command range, friendly faction undead models gain +2 against range and magic attacks.
Oh, so he's going to take his giant sword and stab it in the face.
Yeah, you're going to have it's going to be a harder time doing it at range. You're not going to be.
Yeah, I mean you can they're PAL 14s. They're not horrible guns, but they're not going to shoot it down. I'm definitely anticipating having to go and deal with it personally.
Okay.
But the flip side is if you're not dealing with it personally, what the Bane Thralls are armor 15 go up to 17. I think the Knights are +1 better, so they go up to 18. PAL 12 shooting is dice off 6. That's still enough to break through them even if they are using the Wraith Engine. And then 20 Weapon Masters and the 2 Banshees against 9 Slayers who can't spend focus. I think they come out reasonably ahead there. It's something where I'm trying to track down people to play the matchup and find out.
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, I think Snarky's starting to do cricks again, so...
Really?
Yeah, I was texting him the other day.
Did he set down Grimkin for just a little bit?
He's been trying to set down Grimkin for a while. I think actually he wanted to set it down after ATC.
Really?
And he was still, he had never gotten the reps in. I think he was actually looking at going to Signar for a while, and he couldn't get the models that he wanted put together and painted. So I think he's kind of just fallen back to the comfort zone of cricks. Not that they're in a bad spot right now.
Yeah, it's a tough comfort zone.
Yeah, it's like, oh no, don't throw me in the briar patch. So I don't know if it's I know at the shop I saw him doing the Slayer spam with Gaspy 3 and just punking the hell out of Donnie. So
yeah,
I don't
really
know
want to play Arcadius into that.
Ask Snarky, maybe he'll give you a couple reps in it.
I know Nablis, he's also playing very similar lists to that.
It's one of those situations where, we joke about don't throw me in the briar patch, but it feels like Crix is in a really good spot where if you want to play Crix as a thematic force, you can play a whole bunch of different types of Crix, and they're all relatively good.
See? Play fluff, just like me.
What mark is this? Crix is a competitive option?
See, I think it's a situation where Crix is a competitive option, but it's not like Mark II where it seemed like there was 2 or 3 really competitive options and all the Crix players only just played the really, really high-end casters. I think the themes, dare I say, kind of fixed some of that, and they gave Crix players the ability to play their entire bench.
You mean like that one time that they were all playing double Ghost Fleet? And then they all switched over to double Dark Coast?
Yeah, they definitely...
And then they all switched over to double Dark Industries?
There's still people playing Ghost Fleet. And there's a bunch of people playing Dark Industries, and there's a bunch of people playing Black Industries, and there's even more getting onto the... what's the Statixis one?
Elf Industries?
Yeah, Elf Industries. Yes, horny Elf Industries.
Dude, I would totally play that theme.
Everybody would. But no, it's not a situation where everybody's completely given up on the other themes. Like if I just named 4 of them that people are actively playing right now, that's a good sign for that faction. Now, arguably, other factions probably are like, "What the hell? Why can't I be like that?" But Crix has gotten a lot of attention, as has Signar. And
I go to the Threat Facebook page for psychotherapy.
I can't go. I've actually thought about leaving that group because some of the stuff I saw and I was like, wow. You actually feel better about yourself after reading it. I feel bad for everyone who's posting in there. I feel bad for the faction.
I 100% never post there.
Oh man.
So Devin, you're up. What's your troubles? What's your list as of late?
So I've been really enjoying Kolgrima and been trying to get in my reps with her. I paired her with Grim 1 because I've realized that while I'm painting, that it makes it a lot easier for me to decide on casters if I just look at the ADR pairings and then pick two from there. Which, I mean, this was definitely a good ADR caster list just because I now have Berka painted, Grim 1 painted, Colgrima painted, and Ragnar painted. So I kind of had my options from this, but Colgrima being the cold, winter wind that she is, I wanted to kind of put some reps in with her, and I've really come to enjoy her. Dare say she's probably my favorite caster right now. Haven't really gotten much with Berka, but I have to say that Colgrima definitely has a soft spot in my heart. That said, she has a lot of tools that I enjoy, and she plays the control game, which I enjoy as well. So currently I'm playing her in Power of Dunya, and I'm playing her with Mulg, because why not? Arc-noted, 10-inch sprays at POW 12 that causes people to be stationary with dark power. Who knew would...
He did not like your list at all. Just
No,
to let
I
you
was
know.
going to say...
I'm pretty sure that was like the reaction.
Yeah. I think we
clearly
all
his-
feel the same way, so let's just agree.
Clearly
Yep.
his son was like, you're bad and you should feel bad.
Yeah. Dad should feel bad.
It's like a real-life version of Baby Einstein.
So he has, as I said, Mulg, with, arcing those very nasty sprays. Then I've got a Bomber, a Mauler, a Brawler, an Axer. Then I'm running the Dunya Knot. I'm running 2 units of Whelps for free. And then I'm running the Feral Geist for a little bit of incorporeal scenario play and just to kind of cause a little bit of issues. And then I'm also running the Swamp Gobbers, which one of those two might very well be getting switched out for the Mist Speaker so that my bomber gets eyeless sight due to some suggestions from Kevin.
Yeah. Are you doing the Feral Geist over Gremlin Swarm because of a points reason?
And I like the paralysis. There's been times that the Feral Geist in a bullcrap way has been able to, I've stationaried somebody or I've needed to get somewhere, and getting the Feral Geist in there to basically crit paralysis, it has worked before, or doing just a little bit of extra damage. Like, I think I left Madrak. One of the games I was playing, I left Madrak on 1 point, and the only thing I had left was the Feral Geist. So the Feral Geist being able to get through things and then, basically hit an already stationaried Madrak and kill him was, decent.
Yeah, but if you're surfing for that crit and you have no way of boosting to try and surf for, you're just basically rolling dice and praying. It's not necessarily a game plan you can rely on.
Hey, that
Not
is
really.
my game plan.
Not really, and I agree with that. But as I said, against that Madrak game, Colgrima had already stationaried him, and I was just off on the damage by not much. So throw in the Feral Geist in there, and if they don't have, a lot of times when they're going after, when you look at your armor cracking list, you don't really have something that might be able to hit that magical weapon. I mean, unless you're going into Menoth or something like that. So that's been something that's worked very well for me. So putting the Feral Geist on a flag or in a zone, not to mention I actually have the Feral Geist painted, and since I'm playing only painted, I don't have a Goblin Swarm because they were reaching a pretty penny at one point, so I sold all mine.
Yeah, I was just wondering because the Gremlin Swarm obviously having stealth makes them a little bit less likely to be shot off if you're looking for scenario contesting control over the Feral Geist, which anybody and their uncle can see.
Do they have stealth?
The
Yes.
Gremlin Swarm, yes.
Okay.
The
And they
Feral
also
Geist,
have
no.
boxes.
Yes.
The Feral Geist does not.
So that's why cause a lot of times I look at lists if it's a choice of, if I'm looking for that incorporeal, zone or contesting piece, the Gremlin Swarm's the first one I grab for, unless it's a points issue, and then I go for the 1 point cheaper Feral Geist.
No, I mean, and that makes sense, and I guess I might look at that, because since I'm going to be switching over to the Mist Speaker anyway, I'll have to take a look at those points in general. But I mean, since I'm painting him up, but I mean, if I can fit him in, that makes good sense that way. But yeah, so I've been running them, and I've been trying to get some gameplay with my Grim 1 list, but I just love Cold Grima so much. I've just literally been throwing her into almost everything, because just her feet and everything else, like, I found out she shuts Nemo 3. I mean, Nemo. It's Nemo 3. She shuts him down. Like, he doesn't have much play into her, and that's very decent.
Yeah. No,
You know who else shuts down Nemo 3?
Who?
Pagani.
Oh.
Oh,
shots fired.
Yeah, that was mean. That was almost too soon.
I didn't see it coming. I'll be honest.
I remember listening
That's
to
what Haley said.
I remember hearing a podcast at one point where they thought that was going to be what was going to happen to Electrical Immune, was that they weren't going to be able to arc. So,
I mean, there was some presence of it in Company of Iron, so.
I'm just more so surprised that they said, hey, we're stepping away from the immunity changes altogether, other than that, which is why we changed how the Warjacks were in Crucible Guard. So,
yeah.
I don't know if you guys heard that part or not. I watched
What
all
part?
the dev.
I actually
watched all
like the
dev-
changes to the Crucible Guard.
So I watched the dev talks, and they had said, yeah, hey guys, just so everyone knows, like, we are not going to change immunities. And because we're not going to change immunities, we are changing how Crucible Guard Warjacks work, where instead of getting immune to corrosion and fire, they suffer 1 less damage dice to corrosion and fire. They're alchemically treated now.
Yeah, it was almost like they took what they were going to apply across the board and just made it a special rule for
Their
CG.
jacks. Just for their Warjack CGs. Normal units are still immune to both. So, I was surprised by that.
I think
'cause
it's a
pretty
very
much
good
They
compromise.
did say, hey, yep, guys, we heard what you said. We're not going to change immunity. We're going to change the whole edition. But yep,
I have not sniffed enough glue for that.
I know. I'm sorry.
Although I did finish my Gorgon. Yay.
Yay.
I'm pretty sure my son just set my studio on fire, so.
That's exciting.
I mean, like you do.
I mean, yeah. That's what you get for saying colors are not great. Like Colors of the Rainbow. I don't know where I was going with that one. I don't know.
I think we've
I'm
officially
tired.
run out of steam on this one.
Yeah.
Hey, it's a War Machine joke.
Join in next week when we actually hear some lore from the fluffiest of fluffies.
Oh, please.
Gaston.
Please, listeners, vote for Gaston to do a fluff episode on Retribution just so he has to read the fluff.
I believe there's a time where Devin and I will not be here. That could definitely be an episode where it's Gaston's Fluff Corner.
I could do like a dramatic reading.
Yeah.
No, you should, and then you follow it up with some minion lore on Matter of Pact.
Yep.
Yeah,
that.
we only do meaningful episodes on that podcast.
That's a very meaningful episode that helps engage the consumer of your podcast.
I'm just going to say, like, spoiler alert, the show Dexter is basically Garrett's life
Oh my god.
in Miami.
All right, guys. With that
After
being
he was done being a cop on chips.
with that
You
being
heard it here, folks. Gareth is from Miami.
all right. With that being said, I want to thank everyone.
Why do you
for
think it's
listening.
from Muse on Minis Miami?
Oh, could we please stop this episode?
Yes. Bye, guys.
Bye. 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 Bye.